Greetings, Mind Crafters, and welcome to another exciting Minecraft episode. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am super pumped to sort of continue the discussion from yesterday about becoming great at what you're already good at. And today we're going to talk about move this into pursuing sort of the tenacious pursuit of less but better. So I've been talking about essentialism here and there throughout some different episodes. And, the funny thing is that oftentimes when I'm, discussing something, it's because it's something I really need to kind of, address and work on myself. And that is definitely true with essentialism. I am in with both feet right now, though I'm definitely a grasshopper, as they'd say. I'm a novice, kind of like having your white belt in karate or something. And just because I love having a ton going on. I love juggling lots of balls in the air. I'd like to think I'm pretty good at it, though now, reading about really the disciplined pursuit of less but better, it's really sort of helping me to shift into a new perspective. It means pursuing in a disciplined way. And the shout out today goes to Greg McKeown, author of Essentialism: The Disciplined Pursuit of Less. And I mentioned a few times that I've joined up with this fabulous mastermind group, or I don't know if it's a club, it's a group, I guess, whatever. But they're just fantastic people. So authentic, brilliant, creative, um, just amazing. And they are all fans of this book and essentialism. And it's really, I've talk about a light bulb and aha moment, as Oprah would say, aha moments. I have like light bulbs going on all over the place. So we're gonna kick this off and grab it like a football and run after the last episode. Lots to say here. So, yesterday we were talking about, basically what is the core mindset of an essentialist. We talked quickly about the three things: individual choice, meaning that your schedule is your own. So when somebody says, "Oh, I'm so busy, I can't make it, I don't have 10 minutes to call myself," or whatever, that nowhere to point that finger but one place, right? Because no one else is in charge of your schedule but you. And then there's the prevalence of noise, which is, almost everything is noise. So essentialism is about sifting through all that, honing in on what is the one thing that's important. And then lastly was the reality of trade-offs, which is personally my hardest thing to deal with because I'm a shiny object chaser. And so, when something looks like a good opportunity, and there's lots of good opportunities, my nature is to want to grab them all up and do all of the speaking engagements because they be fun and exciting. When in reality, you half-ass it when you do that, or you just end up with the flu and whatever. And so here's the deal. And Greg McKeown comes right out and says it: if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. And so when we're talking about, putting this core mindset of the essentialist to work, that's again the three things of individual choice, presence of noise, and reality of trade-offs. To hone in on that one thing, this step one, my grasshopper self is still working on this. And the first step of being able to hone in on that one, maybe two things. There's an essential. The essential is pretty much hone in on one big thing. And I know for myself, I have a close second right now, so I'm working on that. But the first step is to explore. And that means Greg says, discerning the trivial many from the vital few. I'll say it again: discerning the trivial many from the vital few. So Greg goes on to say, one paradox of essentialism is that essentialists actually explore more options than their non essentialist counterparts. This actually surprised me when I first read it. Then he says, whereas non essentialists commit to everything or virtually everything without actually exploring, essentialists systematically explore and evaluate a broad set of options before committing to any. Because they will commit and quote unquote go big on one or two ideas or activities, they deliberately explore more options at first to ensure that they pick the right one later. Because they're kind of putting their eggs in one basket, as they say, and I think I mentioned it in the last episode. I really heard it loudly when Will Smith was in an interview like forever ago, over a decade, I think, a long time ago. He was talking about his dad and building a house or something. I don't know. But he said the whole thing with plan A is go full throttle. You don't want to have a plan B because plan B takes away energy from plan A. So instead of going full throttle with 100%, you're going at it with 70. Think about that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And we're not talking about, there are exceptions like the circumstance when, if you're trying to find a place to rent and you don't have a backup plan, that's not the best situation, right? But we're talking about, we're talking about your calling and, running on high octane passion. That's what we're calling. And that's what we're talking about. Sorry. Then I really like how Greg gives us sort of the visual of a Google search engine, right? So if we punched in there, good opportunities for me to be doing, right? Theoretically speaking, with just pages and pages and pages, it's so broad, right? So the essential is doing what they call an advanced search, right? An advanced search. And some of the questions might be, what do I feel deeply inspired by? Or what am I particularly talented at? Or what meets a significant need in the world? And it comes down to um, sort of looking what is the best use of our life minutes is what we're talking about, right? In order to make the greatest level or the highest level of contribution, which means the right thing in the right way and at the right time. And Greg says essential is spend as much time as possible exploring, listening, debating, questioning, and thinking. But their exploration is not an end in itself. The purpose of the explanation is to discern the vital few from the trivial many. And I'm telling you, this grasshopper again. I'm in it though. Like I'm definitely really more aware. I'm already starting to trim the fat, so to speak. Of things that just really aren't necessary, just aren't necessary. And if they're not life giving, although I've actually been like that forever. If they're not life giving, there's not a lot of point, right? But we're talking about some things make it tough because we're talking about good opportunities with good people and whatever. But again, you can only do so much in one day, in 1 week, in 1 month, in 1 year, because something's got to give, and when we take it all on, either we half-ass it or we go home with, the flu or something, or our relationships go. Got to make the choices. So, according to Greg, the next step of the disciplined pursuit of less, right, is to eliminate. So, this is basically when we filter out all the non essentials from that one thing that we are really, really, really driven to do. Again, maybe two at the most. So Greg says many of us say yes to things because we are eager to please and make a difference. So the eager to please thing, one's approval rating, a lot of people are super focused on all that external crap. Not only in relationships in life but also professionally. And he says, so then Greg says, yet the key to making our highest contribution may well be saying no. And then he talks about Peter Drucker, and Peter Drucker says, people are effective because they say no, because they say, this isn't for me. And the thing is, in reality, people respect strength. I'm just saying, no is a good word. No is a really good word. And that goes, that kind of leaks into all aspects of our lives. People don't respect weakness. So appropriately set boundaries, and appropriate and respectful boundaries. Um, say right because we're all walking balls of energy. What we put out there says a message. When we're able to appropriately and respectfully set boundaries, we are saying, I know my value. Definitely, I know my value, and I'm confident this is what I can do, and the rest of these things, no thank you. I was actually thinking of young mothers just now because it's so challenging, because we're conditioned to be everybody's everything all the time. And in reality, usually when you're the young mother, what gives is you, like you end up getting the flu or something. But they're all different ways to spread ourselves so thin. And this whole trade-off thing is like been certainly been really hard for me because I'm super high energy. I can handle a lot of balls in the air. And making trade-offs has been tough for me. I'm just being honest. So then he says, given the reality of trade-offs, we can't choose to do everything. The real question is not how can we do it all. It is who will get to choose what we do and don't do. See, I love that. He said that earlier. If we don't prioritize our lives, somebody else will. So he says, remember, when we forfeit our right to choose, someone else will choose for us. So we can either deliberately choose what not to do or allow ourselves to be pulled in the directions we don't want to go. Gosh, I'm just having a total flashback vision of my 20s. I think a lot of us in our 20s, because we're just not there yet. When you're 20s, you're figuring it out. You still have a need for external approval for the most part. It's, oh, did I say that? Oh, did they? Oh, what if they were hurt? What if my boss overheard me? What, even though they're like in another building, when we're in our 20s, we are still sort of doing a lot of that, and gradually, as we become more seasoned, we see, the value in setting these boundaries. And we also come into our own, I think, with learning to live deliberately. I kind of remember this light bulb going on over and over, because it takes, at least for me, it takes me a while to have it. I have to have a few life quizzes before I necessarily get it. But the thing is, way back when this was happening, the thing is, we make decisions all day long. We make active decisions and we make passive decisions. Obviously, when we're actively engaged in our decision making, I will do this and that, and it's a no can do for that, and that. Well, then we're going to live a happier, more fulfilled, less stressful life. But however, when we haven't arrived there yet, and we're bumping up against needing approval, not wanting to say no, taking on way too many things, then decisions end up being made for us passively, and decisions are still being made, and we're still living our life and doing what we're doing. It's just that what we're doing isn't what our first choice would have been, and therein lies the problema, and where we can get on a better track with being more mindful of this. The third step, according to Greg, is the execution of the whole thing. So it's kind of getting rid of what's in the way so that we can kind of execute our essentialist plan. That's what we're talking about here. So he says, in order to execute, okay, whether our goal is to complete a project at work, reach the next step in our career, or plan a birthday party for our spouse, we tend to think of the process of execution as something hard and full of friction, something we need to force to make happen. Well, I totally get that, because that's kind of like what I'm feeling at this minute. But the essentialist approach is different. Instead of forcing execution, essentialists invest the time they have saved into creating a system for removing obstacles and making execution as easy as possible. I love that. I love that. We've talked about this in different Minecraft episodes, because when we are creative with our time in general, even outside of our conversation today, when we're creative with our time, very living deliberately, making active, conscious decisions, we are saving valuable life minutes. Our most precious commodity, we are saving valuable life minutes. So what Greg is saying here is all those saved life minutes we can now put into doing that one thing that has our heart on fire with desire. And so he says these three elements, explore, eliminate, and execute, are not separate events as much as a cyclical process. And when we apply them consistently, we're able to reap greater and greater benefits. Awesome. Okay, so we're talking about the disciplined pursuit of less but better. And also, what he said, if you don't prioritize your life, somebody else will. And that's it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.